Alright, so basically, I guess, yeah, I got a video about, I guess, kind of a tough question. Because it has to do with, sometimes people try to make backgrounds, they're not quite as detailed as they'd like them to be. And it's difficult, I understand. And basically asking you to do a lot of things at once, and that's why it's difficult. So the reason I'm kind of taking so long to explain this is because I'm trying to find what's the best angle to come at this from. And so okay, let's just see. Let's get a grocery list of all the things that we need done. You want it to be tight, right? You like the idea of something that's tightly drawn. You also want it to be lively, and you want it to feel compelling and convincing. So, and of course you also want it to come easily. You want it to flow. You want to have a good workflow. Right? So you're trying to make a background that has these four things. And I know I'm a little, it's kind of late in the evening. I'm going to be heading off to bed. That's kind of why I am the way I am right now. But, yeah, you want to do all these four things at once, and some of these things are actually conflicting, like tightly drawn and yet lively. And I'd say that anytime you want to tightly draw anything, you want to draw something that's very, very accurate. Yeah, you're gonna lose the flow. They are seemingly, it's very hard to get the two work together. And so this is why it's really important to draw multiple iterations. So if you're going to draw a background, and here's the other thing is that there is the what you're going to draw, and then the other one is the how you draw. So this is like what you say versus how you say it. There's the information that you have to get across that you're trying to convey, and then there is how you intend to convey this information. So the drawing is more of the how you draw, the what you draw. So if we look at these four things that you want, there's tightly drawn, right? Tightly drawn, that's more of a how thing, isn't it? Right? Maybe good workflow? Well, that's not necessarily the what and the how, but I would say this is how you go about doing this. So maybe this is how you go about achieving both. Basically having your cake and eating the two, right? Getting all, how you go about fulfilling these needs. I'm going to say how you go about fulfilling. That's what we do. We fulfill needs. We fulfill needs for the clients. We fulfill our own needs. That's what we do. And so you want something that is lively. So it's kind of a bit of both, right? Because the thing is, like, you can have a lively thing going on, right? And then you can have a lively workflow, which is how you go about doing it. And then there's something that is compelling and convincing, which is definitely a what you draw thing. And yeah, the good workflow, that's the how you go about doing things, right? So I mean, I know this seems kind of like very spiritual and out of the way, and yeah, in a way it is. It's you have to mull these things over and figure out, how do I get my cake and eat it too? I have all of these things that I want, some of which seem compelling, and this is my workflow. This is how I figure it out. This is how I figure out the how you go about fulfilling part. So I would say that the tightly drawn thing, you might want to put that in the back seat. Because again, it's the tightly drawn thing is not, like, how do I explain this? The reason why I say tightly drawn should not take a priority is because if I create a picture frame right now and say, okay, now tightly draw something, tightly draw what? So this is why I say tightly drawn should just kind of calm down, just sit your ass over there in the corner, and we don't tightly draw anything just yet. All right. So how about lively? Should lively be in the forefront? All right, well then let's draw something lively. I don't know what's lively. I'm too tired to think of anything lively at the moment. So, lively, you go and you sit with tightly drawn over in the corner. Just sit down, shut up for a little while. Because right now, I think more than anything what I need is compelling and convincing. And to me, what compelling and convincing means, now I have something for that. Things that are compelling and convincing, they're believable. Why are they believable? They make sense. They jive. There's a consistency, right? We can tell when things are compelling and convincing. We can tell when they're not. There's a null hypothesis. There's a way to say if something's not believable. Let's say if you just see objects floating for no reason, and we're here on planet Earth, right? Why is this object, floating without being affected by gravity? Everything's affected by gravity, right? So it's not. If we just draw that, it's not compelling and convincing. If we were to look at, and so all of this, I think, starts to go into the realm of design. So this is going to be largely a video about design, and so if we were to design a house that Now remember, I said design is like a lot of what we do is largely about fulfilling. Design is especially all about fulfilling. So if you want to build a house in a particular environment, a house in a cave, for instance, then we have to fulfill the various needs of what it's like to live in a house, or rather a dwelling that sits inside the cave. And maybe the cave itself is not the dwelling. So I say we have to fulfill needs, right? And there's the word fill. You cannot have fulfilling without the word fill. What are we filling with these needs? So the question is, if this is taking place with a cave or a cavern, how big is the cavern? Is it a little teeny, dimple in the mountainside? Is it a really deep cavernous interior? What kind of cavern is it? Is it submerged cave? Is it in an aquatic area? Is it up in a very, very high place? Is there volcanic activity in this cavern? So all of this stuff that I'm talking about is bringing us right down to the core of what you are drawing. So you're trying to create a compelling and convincing environment. You have to know what you're drawing. What is this environment? If we're going to build a dwelling in a cave, you have to know all the nitty-gritties about this cave. So let's say it's okay, it's a cave in a mountain, but just outside. It's a cave for bats. Okay, it's not Batman. It's not Bat Cave like with Batman and Bat vehicles. No, it's just a cave where outside is the jungle, and maybe it's like a rainforest cave, and bats nest there, and there's a ton of guano on the floor. And because the thing is, I've actually seen some documentaries about bat caves. At least I can leverage my prior knowledge. So the thing is that if you're going to enter into a hypothetical situation, it's very important to go in there with some research. So I'm choosing the easy way out because I'm too tired to do any research right now, and I would rather leverage the information I already have. So great, let's write this down. So it's a rainforest bat cave. Bruce Wayne is nowhere in sight. A rainforest bat cave, what's the purpose of this dwelling? Why on earth would anyone ever want to live in this guano-infested bat cave? I mean, those things have rabies, they carry, sometimes they may actually carry Ebola. And the smell, God. So, why the bat cave? Why would anyone want to live there? Unless you're a researcher, you know, unless you're, oh God, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a tough, this is a tall order. So this is why I'm saying it's important to think these things through, because it's already kind of an unbelievable situation. So until we know why it is some guy would want to live in a bat cave, oh, I got it. The only way that you can make living in a bat cave more believable is if you make the exterior of the bat cave even more unbelievable. So suppose that, like, outside of this bat cave, there are there's just this massive influx of fucking killer bees. Like, we're talking like, not just, no, wait, killer bees are wussy little things. They're not like Japanese hornets. You know what Japanese hornets are, right? They're like the size of your freaking thumb. Like, one of those guys can basically kill like 200 regular Japanese honeybees. And whenever one of those like those things, like, if when they bring like American honeybees or European honeybees over to Japan and set up, like, you know, little apiaries, which is where they carry the bees, or where they take care of them and raise them for honey. These Japanese hornets, they'll send a scout in, and when the scout finds it, kind of heads back. The radio, exactly. He just kind of uses pheromones, and he leads his friends over, and they just make a big old picnic of the whole thing, and they basically just massacre all the other bees there. So they're really nasty. And I know this is a detour, but I'm just explaining, like, this is why it's really cool to see documentaries, because you learn some really cool stuff. So these Japanese hornets, they can, you know, with their mandibles, like, they just chew apart other bees. And so in Japan, the bees there have evolved a defense, and that is that as soon as they discover a scout, one of those Japanese hornets, what they do is they don't have any real defenses against these guys, because if they ever were to, like, descend en masse to their hive, the same thing would happen. They're just not strong enough. So what they do is they make sure there's no witnesses, and all of these, like, Japanese honeybees will just pounce, and they'll swarm, and they'll make like a ball of just other, like, little honeybees all clustering around this one hornet. And then they start to beat their wings. They start to flap their wings as hard as they can, because what they're trying to do is when they flap their wings, well, you know what happens when you flap your arms? You get, like, really hot. Well, the same thing happens to these bees. They get hot too. And apparently the temperature, the maximum body temperature they can withstand is like 1 or 2 degrees Celsius more than the Japanese hornet does, and they just cook the guy to death. And it's like they just kill him with, like, heat prostration. That's what they do. They just destroy him that way. So you know, that's fearsome kind of creature. That's what it takes to take one of those suckers down. So you have a rainforest bat cave, and you have just oodles upon oodles of these, like, big nasty hornets outside. And this is the thing. The bats of this rainforest bat cave, their primary diet is the big nasty hornets outside. So the rainforest bat cave is like the only safe place around for a good long place. Like, it smells, and the bats are just, you know, grody, gross things, but you know what? They eat the hornets. They take care of the hornets. And if you're in the bat cave, the hornets will generally not build their nests near a bat cave because they know their dinner. That's like, they know that they're kind of a rung below on the food chain. I guess, you know, in this particular scenario, let's say these particular rainforest hornets, maybe they're not exactly the Japanese hornets, but and I know this was a long detour, okay, but the thing is that I went on this detour for a reason, because I'm very passionate about the idea of these hornets. Like, they are really cool, and I wanted to convey this to you, just how cool these hornets are. So, no, I'm not high. I'm just tired. If I'm high on anything, I'm high on sleep deprivation. So, this is how we get lively, right? We wanted lively in the design process. So this is why I go on this detour, because you do your research, you study, you learn about things, you find things that you're passionate about, and you spend some time thinking about this kind of stuff, right? That's why I say, what could possibly be worse than a bat cave, right? And then this whole time, what am I doing? I am trying to put myself in the shoes of the poor schmuck who's going to live in that bat cave to get away from the big nasty hornets outside. So this is an essential key to being lively. I won't tell you to just be lively. I have to show you something that I could be excited about, and you have to find what it is that you are excited about. This is, I think, a very core principle, a core thing about being a good designer, being a designer of lively things, of interesting things, is that the only way you're going to design interesting things is if you look at the what you draw, if you are interested in what you draw, if you find something you're interested and you put that, you choose that as your what you draw, then you will have a lively design. So, and then for compelling and convincing, then if you can, again, it's like I said, if you put yourself in the shoes of the people that have to use these dwellings, or the people who designed, who made choices, if you can make compelling and convincing decisions for these other people, because you're in their shoes, then your designs will be compelling and convincing. So maybe this rainforest bat cave is let's see. So we've got to deal with a bunch of things. I always like making these grocery lists. I'm not in a hurry to draw anything because I'm still focused on what you draw. What are you going to be drawing? Yes, there's going to be a place for the bat, or a roost. A roost. This is where the bats stay. There's going to be, right, there's the main opening. Main entrance for the bats. I would imagine that there would be some sort of pedestrian exit. So I guess the roost, maybe the guy's house is not necessarily right inside the bat cave, but it's really close to it. So a very proximal entrance. What else do we got? Whoops. What else do we have? We have, you know, I mean, I know you can get Ebola from eating bushmeat, but maybe the guy subsists off of the bats. Or maybe the guano. Maybe no, I didn't eat the fucking guano. I mean, the guano it's a good fertilizer. So maybe what he does is he has a farm. Maybe he has a small farm. And yeah, guano collection. Right? So pretty simple. So again, this is all, how do you get into the convincing part of things? The convincing part is, how deeply do you think about these things, and how much are you living in these environments? How much are you really trying to think in advance? So a rainforest bat cave with big nasty hornets outside. The main answer is approximately. Okay, so maybe. Oh, right. There's also his dwelling. The dwelling itself. Right, bedroom and all that other stuff. So right now, you know what? I'm not going to go too much further into these. These are kind of the main components of this place. So, and you know what? I don't care how clean this is. This is the lively process. This is not the tight and confined process. This is not the tightly drawn process. So here's the dwelling. Is it too big, too small? I don't know. We had nothing. At least we got something. And now we can make a decision as to how, if it's too big or too small. Because if I say the guy is, maybe this big, then obviously that dwelling is too small. On the other hand, if I say the dwelling is this big, then maybe that's okay. So the thing is that I know some of you will probably look at that big, bad, empty rectangle and be afraid to draw anything. Just when there's nothing there, you can't be wrong to just draw it. The thing about design is that you're always trying to take multiple objects and hook them up together. You're trying to create connections between two things, and sensible connections between things. You're trying to articulate things in a meaningful fashion. This is what art is. My definition of art is the articulation of various elements into a meaningful artifact. So we have a dwelling, and how big is this dwelling in relation to the cave? Maybe the cave is like huge, like this big. Yeah, that's right. I know I drew that box. Think outside the box. Your cave can be huge. It's amazing. It's like, right, or you can shrink down the dwelling. So the cave can be huge, a dwelling can be small. We're just comparing relative sizes. I don't even know if the dwelling's gonna be on the top, it's gonna be on the side, it's gonna be underneath. I don't know. Don't ask me. Start with like a blank empty page. We are literally working from, well, we're not working from nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not working from nothing. I am working from what small information I have in my head. I've not even fired up a web wrap. So, dwelling, great. He's got a farm. You know what? This guy, he's in a cave. He's probably got some serious UV lights going. The music is definitely inspiration. So, alright, he's got a dwelling. He's got a hydroponics facility to cook, or to grow his vegetation, or whatever. And maybe, you know what? Maybe the hydroponics lab is actually, really big in comparison to the dwelling. Right? It's just a block diagram. Just make a simple block diagram. Don't worry about drawing lamp fixtures or any of this stuff, because you're starting with nothing. Why would you get all tied up? Why would you just tighten up and then say, oh, it has to be perfect? For who? For who are you being perfect? There's no one in here to be perfect for. There's no one in this house to be perfect for. My only neighbor passed away not that long ago either. So there really is no one here to be perfect for. There's just me. So don't try to be perfect. Just do your job. So hydroponics farm. Guano collection, right? So I'm starting to think that if the whole kind of lower part of this cave is some sort of guano collection system, that works well. I don't know how he intends to collect it, if there's a giant rake that scoops it all in, or if it just sprays water and it loosens it and it's on a slant and the sludge just kind of slithers down. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. And the thing is that there's a very kind of common phrase that people use. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right? So all you got to do is just, if you don't know something right away, you just say, well, you know what? It's about this big, and when it comes time to design that thing, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. This should be your mantra as a designer. Just do it like that. And then there's little dwelling. Okay. So how to design this place so the guy doesn't go, bad shit, insane. Well, what are the things that you need in a dwelling? You need, so I mean, we're going to take this little box here and we're going to break it down. So a dwelling itself, what are you going to have? You're going to need lighting. Well, maybe electricity. Yeah, how about that? Electricity, heating, cooling, because man, oh god, ventilation. Water. Gas. What else we got? These are like utilities, aren't they? A place to sleep. What else? Lavatory. You know, bed, bathroom, bedroom. Oh, wait, that's the sleeping quarters. So, what else? Lavatory, place to wash up, a kitchen. Dining room. What else? Place to not go insane. Like, you know, living room. Recreational room. Right? So again, this is how you imagine, right? This is how you put yourself into the shoes of a situation. Right? Into the shoes of a person who has to live there. And this is design. Design is thinking, well, what are the needs that we must fulfill? And it's an iterative process. It's like everything that I'm doing here is just the same process over and over and over and over and over again. It's there's really not a whole lot for me to teach you except to do what I'm doing again and again and again. And when you say, well, what's the rec room going to look like? I don't know yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. What does a sleeping quarters look like? I don't know. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Repeat after me. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And the reason I say this is because we want the lively, good, smooth workflow, right? And so the way that we work lively and have the good, smooth workflow is we don't get caught up in little tiny detail, right? We don't cross that bridge until we get to it. So the thing is that everything has these various layers of complexity. We just work top down and we just make sure that the whole layer is complete, and then we go down another layer. We make sure that that layer of complexity is complete, and we go down again. And the thing is that because we break up the process like this, because we break up things into a rec room, sleeping quarters, lavatory, we're always working and leveraging off of the previous work. That's all this stuff up here, right? All of this stuff is how do I explain it? These utilities are necessary to create these types of rooms, right? These rooms are going to depend upon the utilities. And the utilities, oh yeah, I got a few things in mind. These things are dependent upon the fact that there's a dwelling there, right? Dependent on the fact that there's a dwelling. And the other thing is that how are we going to get these utilities in a fucking Batcave? Well, guano is very rich in chemicals and it's biodegradable. So, you'll have a bioreactor. A biofuel reactor. Or generator, whatever you want to call it. Alright? And so, the guano, you can just throw it into a container, ferment it, get the methane off of it, and that stuff up. Hey, you got methane gas. That's gas taken care of, right? You've got water, which is coming from outdoors. You've got a lot of water in that guano. Maybe you could filter it, or maybe instead of filtering, it could be collected as a condensate, and then the condensate can be filtered several times, and you could get the water from the stuff as well. So, or you could get water from wells. Maybe there's wells and groundwater. That's probably a lot safer. So you would have wells, and then again, you would go through filtration. You would have carbon filters and whatnot. So water taken care of. Ventilation. Now, this one's going to be a tricky one because you got to deal with the fact that there's hornets out there. You don't want your hornets coming down to your vent pipes and screwing your shit up. So the ventilation, and plus it's really stinky in the Batcave. You don't want to be taking air in through the Batcave. So yeah, this is the tough one, right? We don't know. We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Well, let's just keep on going. Cooling, right? Heating, cooling, electricity. You know what I'm thinking? Termite mounds. I'm thinking of termite mounds because termite mounds, again, just leveraging what I already know, right? Termite mounds are kind of interesting in that their chambers and the way the rock is, it's actually very porous, and they make it so it's not exactly just rock. But I remember that there's like a kind of a central column, and it's like air can kind of go into the thing and it can travel up through the central column, and it's like it causes, when it gets, it basically just it's this natural convection current that just draws air in from the bottom, cold air in from the bottom, and when it heats up, it just comes up to the top, and it just keeps the air, like the whole thing, always very cool and you know, ventilated. So maybe, you know what, maybe these two things we can borrow from the termite mines, the termite mounds. That's why it's really good to be up on the up and up for it's good to be on the up and up for nature documentaries. Really look this stuff up. I mean, at least there's some pretty interesting things that have evolved, and you can, you know, leverage those millions of years of evolution and you know, put them to your advantage. So next up is heating. Well, great. I mean, we've got the gas, we got the methane gas. I mean, and plus when you cook that, well, so not cook it, when you ferment it, it probably throws off its own heat. Plus you got a whole bunch of bats. I don't think we're going to have too much problem with the heating. And lastly, if you really need heating, there's always geothermal. So, well, not always, but maybe our particular situation, the guy could actually make use of geothermal. And the moment you make use of geothermal, then you've got like hot water galore and steam and a whole bunch of other things. You got cogen and whatnot. So heating is probably pretty good. And the electricity, I mean, again, the biofuel reactor, you could probably work something out to give yourself some electricity. So I mean, like, this is great. This formerly completely inhospitable environment of this this Batcave is looking kind of possible. It's again, we're just gonna have to sit down and design the actual bioreactor to some degree. So, you know, there's a fermentation tank, there's a gas outlet. The gas is, you know, goes into a collection tank, and then it's refined or it's compressed into a liquid form. So like liquid methane or something like that. So I'm saying, you know, I know that these processes exist, and it's going to take some more research. I'm a little too tired to do that stuff right now. But you get the idea how it's possible to just keep following this stuff along. And it's a lot of work, sure, but you can delegate this work to other people on the same project. So, you know, when it comes time to actually design the thing, right, then you'll know. Meaning that if you realize, well, okay, we're collecting our water from, you know, from wells and stuff, then maybe there's more stuff over there, right? Maybe there is a well, there's like maybe there's a core drilling that's all the way down there, and there's actually, you know, the water table's right there, and you can draw water out from a pail. Or there's a pump system, and the pump system's powered by your generator. Again, once you know, you have to learn all of these different things and figure them out, you know, spend some conceptualizing them, and then hook them together in a way that makes sense. So this is what I think of when I say coming up with something that is compelling and convincing. It's not about making a beautifully drawn picture that is, you know, compelling and convincing. I mean, I guess you could have realistic rendering. That is compelling and convincing from a superficial standpoint. But I think when it comes time to do deep design, this is the really important stuff. This is the real nitty-gritty of what makes a really believable environment, because you, the creator and designer, must be able to believe in this environment. And so this is the easiest way I can think of, the most free-flowing way I can think of coming up with an environment or background or whatever. So I think this fulfills the needs. In any case, it's now an hour 21 overtime for me. I have to hit the hay really badly, as you can tell. And I'll see you all later.